a roll call, please.
Now I don't.
Chair Friedman,
Present.
Vice Chair Winston,
Present.
Member Deering,
Present.
Member Moz,
Present.
Member Reynolds,
Member Reynolds was here and seems to have dropped off, so hopefully she rejoins.
Okay, Member Alexander,
Present.
I believe you have a quorum.
Very good. Rachel, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly.
Thank you.
And there's the flag. I
Oh.
pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I thought we were going to get a musical. I thought someone was putting on a musical rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. I've never heard it before.
Doesn't it figure that my phone would ring as soon as we started the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Let me turn it. I'm going to turn the ringer off now.
Good idea. All right, super. Could we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Member Miles, so moved.
Member Deering, second.
Thank you. And could we get a roll call, please? Vote.
Member Moz,
Present.
Member Deering,
Yes.
Member Alexander,
Present.
is Member Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice Chair Winston,
Approve.
and Chair Friedman.
Approve.
The motion passes.
Thank you kindly, everybody. And then could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 16th, 2021 meeting?
So moved.
Remember to mention your name when you're
Sorry,
doing the
Rachel
motion.
Winston. So moved.
Member Miles, second.
Thank you very much. And could we get a roll call to approve the minutes?
Vice Chair Winston,
Approve.
Member Moz,
Approve.
Member Reynolds,
Yes.
Member Deering,
Approved.
Member Alexander,
Approved.
and Chair Friedman.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Now I see there's an approval of findings and conclusions, but where are they in our packet?
Chair, board members, there is not any approval of findings and conclusions.
Okay, very good. I didn't.
I apologize for interrupting. Chair Friedman, members of the board, there are some actually in the packet for the case that we're hearing tonight that reflects staff's recommendations. So if the board chooses to adopt staff's recommendation and approve that case, you could also approve those at that time. Those are actually part of that packet though.
Right, but Sally, you're talking about for the new case, the new business, right?
That's correct, Chair. Yes, it's sort of a template agenda. So sometimes we have some not applicables in there, especially with our new Prime Gov. It just sort of transfers over the same order of operation.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Okay, great. So any old business, folks?
All right.
If there's
Board members, there's no old business.
very good. Being that there's no old business before the board, let's go on to new business, which is we have a case before us, one case today, which is case number 2021-3516, tract A1 Emblem Road, Aquaponics special use permit. And so who's going to, Donna is going to, is Donna present? Is she going to give the presentation?
Good evening, board, chair and board members. I will bring up my presentation here. Let's see.
Thank you, Donna, and welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so. I get my PowerPoint presentation is see this PowerPoint presentation? Is it up there?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So it's not there. Okay. So sorry. I had a presentation there for you. This evening, as you say, on Emblem Road, special use permit for Nate Downey as agent for Lettuce, etc. LLC owner, and was Charles Gilcrease. Mr. Downey now owns a property. He's requesting approval of a special use permit for a greenhouse and commercial aquaponics operation greater than 750 square feet. The project is comprised of approximately 8,730 square feet of new development for a greenhouse, office, garage, fish room, and packaging facility. Property is located on Emblem Road, west of Office Court Drive and south of Wagon Road self-storage facility, and is zoned I1, which is light industrial. And you can't see my screen, right? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. So the staff found that the case did meet the 3 criteria for a special use permit. And I'll go through those in a minute, but there's the two motions that will be required for this case, to approve or deny the special use permit, and approve or deny the findings of fact, which, as Ms. Paez said, is in your packet, the findings of fact. So, sorry, I'm just gonna have to scroll through my report. So, again, this is zoned I1 at that location, which according to subsection 14-6.2 H2, that it does allow agricultural use for commercial purposes. And subsection 14-6.2 H8 allows aquaponics as provided in the table 14-6.1-1 and light industrial district, subject to a special use permit. As you recall, we did look at another previous aquaponics case that was in an established business park in an existing building in off of Richards Road. So this is on a vacant parcel of land. It's 2.5 acres of land on Emblem Road. And Emblem Road is just off of Wagon Road, and it's south of the Santa Fe Place Mall, which is shown on in some of your maps in your packet. So I won't go through all those, but the site is here in Emblem, and it's compatible with the area in terms of there's industrial kind of warehouse use to the north, which is Wagon Road storage facility. There's a number of, or a variety of different types of commercial uses along Cerritos Road there. Santa Fe Place Mall here, of course. And then there's there's an existing business park here to the east. And then there is a Turquesa, I believe it's still called, there at apartment development further to the northeast. The site plan that has been presented in the with the case, and this is a small version of it, but as we get special use permits, they're not as detailed as development plans. So sometimes, when you expect to see a lot of engineered drawings and those types of things, basically what we're looking at is a site plan which shows the arrangement of things on site, and how the parking is arranged and landscaping and the basics. So you'll see a lot of comments in the technical conditions in your Exhibit A. It points out a lot of things that the DRT expects to see, but those will come around prior to this being going to building permit applications. So just wanted to point that out. The thing that came out recently with this case was when the applicant and I met with Geronimo Griego of the Fire Marshal's office. I don't think I have that drawing here on this staff report, but the entrance into the site will be revised, And that is because I think there was a misunderstanding. The applicant had designed this circular drive with the parking spaces here. And the fire marshal's office said that would not accommodate the turnaround for their fire trucks. So he redesigned that into a hammerhead, and that was fine with Mr. Griego. So just wanted to point that out. That was a change that was fairly recent. That was after the report had gone on for printing. Another thing too to point out on this site is that there is an existing parking lot. I believe it's like 23 parking spaces there to the north or to the east. And over the years, I think some arrangements with the previous owner allowed some spillover kind of parking from this Office Court Drive business park over here, which the applicant has indicated that he may continue that on, but he hasn't, that may evolve or that may change, and I'll let him speak to that if he'd like to speak to that. Otherwise, it's a very low traffic use kind of a property development. There's only going to be about three employees, and there won't be any customers coming to the site. So the applicant is going to be delivering the produce by way of his van, his solar powered van, to the various locations throughout the community. I'm going to conclude my presentation with that. Again, he met the 3 criteria. The first was, of course, the Board of Adjustment. This is the appropriate body to make this determination for a special use permit. There's numerous statements that he makes here as to why it is in compliance with, or is certainly not contrary to public interest. That's the second criteria, that granting the special use permit and approving the plan will not adversely affect the public interest. Staff believe that, of course, no, this does not negatively affect public interest. And then more specifically, when you get to the third criteria, that the use in any associated buildings are compatible with and adaptable to buildings and structures and uses on the abutting property and other properties in the vicinity, staff believe that it did not negatively impact the surrounding area at all. I'll conclude with that and stand for questions. Thank you.
Let's hold off on questions for Donna right now, and let's hear from the applicant. Mr. Downey, I thought I saw you on the screen. Are you still
Yes.
present?
I am. Thank you.
Great. Could you please give your name and address, and then you need to be sworn in.
Thank you. My name is Nate Downey, or Nathan A. Downey, and I'm at 1104 Don Gaspar Avenue.
Great.
Will you raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. Please proceed.
Okay.
I'm really
Also-
sorry to interrupt. I just want to note for the record that I think that Member Painter is here and is in the attendees. So I think he is here to hear the case. I just wanted to note that, and if the host could move him over.
And Member Painter is actually called in because of some technical difficulties, so you can't promote a call in to a panelist, but I have unmuted Member Painter. So Member Painter, if you're listening on your screen, it should ask you to unmute, and you can unmute yourself if you'd like.
I
Great.
apologize for interrupting.
Sally, no problem. And I see that Member Reynolds is here as well. Okay. Sorry about that, Mr. Downey. Please go ahead.
Well, I am trying, and I'm not seeing any of my, I see a lot of my photos, but I don't see my presentation. Maybe it'll work though. How can I do these? How can I click share and make sure this is open at the same time? Hold on a second here. Let's see. It's like thing. Well, let's try this.
And before you
Okay.
begin,
Yes.
I keep on hearing crickets in the background. Does anybody else hear that?
Yes, I do hear
Yes.
crickets in the background.
So
I don't hear.
if anyone's got
It's,
crickets in their
it's
pocket,
outside my window, but I was muted. I don't know why you would hear it.
I have them at
Oh.
my,
Ah, okay.
I thought it was me.
okay, thanks, folks.
This is
Go
not the
ahead,
first.
Mr. Downey.
Can you see this? Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So an urban farm in Santa Fe is what I'm titling this, and lettuce, etc., can be seen actually from Monte Luna. But you get a better view, and we've seen an image of this already. We're at 700 feet from the city's largest mall and within 5,000 hungry households, within reach of 50,000 hungry households of Santa Fe. Around the neighborhood, there are these types of businesses, and they could easily be put on this property instead. So I think that's why the neighbors seem to be appreciative of the ones I've met. And so these are just, some of the many businesses. This is probably the funniest one, Feral Gas. And all of those actually could start up, could have started up already and didn't even need the ENN or the Board of Adjustment approval. So I just kind of want to make that interesting point with respect to maybe future planning. But here's one. It's a greenhouse that would probably need it. This is fitting in quite well with the Bisbee Court. It's unlike the greenhouse I intend to build, though, because it's got pot growing in there. And I'm going to grow lettuce aquaponically. This is not the most accurate of drawings, I will say. The design has changed, number one, as has the turnaround, but that's kind of one look at it. And here, as we have seen, and this is, I guess, the most updated version that you've seen, because it has the hammerhead, it has a dumpster, which was something somebody wanted, and some nice landscaping. I come with a landscaping background, so I intend to water harvest, put runoff down in this area here, also to screen people from office court. And actually on both sides, there'll be at least passive solar water harvesting. If I can get the right funding together, I'd put in a cistern as well. Quickly, aquaponics is different from hydroponics. I just have to make that important case that it's not sort of a scientific experiment on the left. It's an ecosystem that you have on the right. And so you feed fish, they excrete waste. The waste is then converted into nutrients for plants by bacteria. And it's actually the biggest thing, or bigger than the plow. So get psyched. Here's a little look at the operations, and Donna indicated a little bit that our operations will be different. It's a farm to home delivery system, and that's why I know retail customers will be really allowed to come. We don't want bugs from other people coming in, and so we might have some tours occasionally with school groups and that kind of thing, but it's not going to be a regular situation at all. We don't want to have what we call our IPM disturbed, our integrated pest management disturbed, because what's great about aquaponics, different from hydroponics, is if you put pesticides on this stuff, you kill either the fish or the bacteria, so you don't put pesticides on this kind of stuff. This is what the site looks like now, or yesterday. Some of it was yesterday when I was picking up some of this stuff. There's a serious sort of issue, I think, in the neighborhood with it being undeveloped. And that upper right picture is where somebody sometimes lives. It's not actually on the property, it's neighboring, but the rest of these pictures are all on the property. So looking to the east is Office Court Drive, and there's also that bottom right picture is actually looking toward the west, because that's the parking lot that Mesa Vista Wellness uses, and I intend to continue getting the revenue with the lease and letting those people do that. They seem like good people. A lot of nice neighbors in the neighborhood, including the United States Department of Agriculture, which has probably the best view of the future of food. So that's kind of exciting for them. Looking to the south, it's just that. There's another property for sale, the same zoning. And then across the Arroyo, you can see this Transcom thing. It's in a residential neighborhood by the time you get across the Arroyo, but it's kind of being used for commercial purposes. There's another look at it as well. I don't know if you can see all that to the south. Looking to the west, you can see the west and the southwest and the northwest, the situation there. And looking north, it's gonna fit in, I think, quite well and really improve the neighborhood. That's me putting up the sign, a little closer look, looking to the north. Now, looking back to the east, I have this picture because you can see this wall, and then it's really been left sometimes. It's kind of a trashed place, and I like the idea of improving it. There's just a close-up of the trash. Looking west again, you can see that the neighbors, there are a couple, have these large, they're really in the back sides of these other businesses on Cerrillos. It's all commercial in there. There's like a church basically up in there, and they have already screened out that ugly, picture that I showed you before of the kind of garbage that tends to collect there. But I've cleaned all that up, or not all of it. I've begun to clean it up, and I look forward to your questions and improving Santa Fe with this project.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Downey. Are there any questions either for Mr. Downey or staff? None?
I have a question. Member Alexander has a question.
Thank you.
So this is for the applicant. Looking at the site plan, it looks like the development is only proposed in sort of one corner of the site. Do you guys do you have a phased plan for the rest of the site development, or are you planning on leaving that mostly vacant?
I have sort of an open-ended plan there. If all goes well, I would likely put more greenhouses. One of the interesting things about my business model, however, is that there's the lettuce from the aquaponics and there's the etc. I can grow other things in aquaponics. I could grow some hydroponics and various other what we call controlled environment agriculture. But the etc. also is, and I don't have a slide on this, but I've done some research, and you don't need to have done research to know that the regional farmers of northern New Mexico don't have a way to get into the get into the delivery to the door business. And so I think that if I have a strong product, much like the milkman had milk, maybe 100 years ago, I've got fresh lettuce, and also better than the milkman, I've got an app on my phone that can tell me who's paid and that kind of thing. The etc. really could be a way for regional farmers to get other items to people as well. And so it could be more of a warehouse situation, similar to what wouldn't need any extra approval, where we're warehousing and acting as a food hub, essentially. Another thing, in fact, I didn't have a slide on this, another thing I could have on there without special approval would be a restaurant. So there's that possibility as well. I hope not. I would rather have this be aquaponics greenhouses, but I'm kind of creating a new business model here with the farm to home delivery, and it's untested. And although I have done some significant research and I do think it's going to work, I haven't got any money for it yet. So that'll be the real test. So there's also in the short term, because it takes a while to build buildings and raise money, there's a likelihood that I would lease it out to some other person who would, use it for some allowed use in the short term, perhaps. I would not rule that out, and that's also why I appreciate the income from the parking.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. Are there any other questions for staff for Mr. Downey?
This is Mr. Painter. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I have a question for for the applicant. And I read through the packet, and I think I already know all the answers, but I need to hear you say these things first. I see you're going to be raising, or you're going to have tilapia in tanks, 70-foot tanks, I think it said. And obviously the tilapia does what they do, and then that gives fertilizer in the water, and it goes to the lettuce, and that's all great. Do you have any plans at all of harvesting tilapia?
Member Painter, Chairman, and board members, and thank you, also staff. And just to be clear, those are 7-foot tanks in diameter. And yes, I do. The tilapia will be probably 10% of the revenue. They're mostly in aquaponics systems considered to be the way you can get away from hydroponics. And so they're
Right.
the nutrients. And so I will hopefully deliver them to the door as well. Although it's probably more likely with respect to labor costs that will be in some sort of arrangement with institutions for the fish. I would like to, in fact, there's this whole other aspect of this that brings in, nonprofits that feed the hungry, and there's hopefully going to be a lot of this food going to people in need as well. But frankly, I'm not exactly sure where the tilapia will go once we've harvested them, and we don't actually have to harvest them. We could just let them live and could continue to be the for quite a long time to continue to be the nutrients for our farm. And we might not even use tilapia in every tank. We would probably try Santa Fe caviar and get some sturgeon as well, if there's a market for that.
Okay. Okay, let me follow up a little bit more. If you're going to perhaps sell the tilapia, I assume you'll be cleaning it, processing it at your location. And no. Okay.
Not entirely. Cleaning it, but not processing it. Chair and board members and staff, thank you. That's why I think it's a little unclear where I'll be selling it, because there's less of a market for that. There's a place in Albuquerque that sells whole fish, and that's another that I didn't mention, but that's another potential buyer of the essentially cleaned but not or gutted but not processed, which is a different level of processing. So there may be in the future some of that, but I never intend to actually sell a fillet. I cannot compete with current agricultural systems and the labor associated with that.
Okay, but the cleaning of the fish, the gutting them, if you will, I guess all that ends up in the dumpster out back or something?
No, that's a great question. Thank you. And there may be, I think there's a reference to vermiculture in that rather long cover letter that, but the leftover fish parts and the pieces of lettuce that are not sold, the roots of the lettuce that are not sold, all that will go into a worm bin, which will then be either used for, it's not going to be a huge quantity of compost, but it'll be used for our landscaping, essentially, and perhaps sold if people want to pay a lot for it.
So is that the worm bin you're talking about? Is that something outside or inside your establishment?
It would be actually inside to climate control.
Okay. One last question. I've heard of tilapia being raised in, I think it was Arizona. And I think what I read, this is a few years back now, was that there's all these tilapia farms down there because all the garbage from the restaurants are out to Arizona to feed the tilapia. Are you looking at people, restaurants, whatever, bringing in garbage, if you will, to basically feed the tilapia?
Never heard of that, and I'm planning on using a fish feed called Optimal, which is somewhere out of the Midwest, maybe South Dakota, Missouri, Optimal feed, it's 95% vegetarian because tilapia are one of the few fish that can be omnivorous and in fact vegetarian. And so that's really one of the great reasons for using tilapia. We don't have to feed fish, which is ridiculous. And well, it wouldn't be if it weren't for tilapia, but it is since there is tilapia.
Okay. No, that answers my questions. I appreciate you responding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. Any other questions for Mr. Downey or staff? I'm assuming you're not going to be able to have any lobster tanks.
Yeah, that's right. Salt in the
I put my order in now.
Fresh water only. You let me know what you want. We'll make a deal.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Okay. Be that this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who are here to speak either for or against the application? I don't see anybody in the participants. Noah?
Chair, board members, there does appear to be at least one member of the public. And if you'd like to speak on this issue, you can use the raise hand function right at the bottom of your screen. Or
okay, I'm going to open up the public portion of the hearing. And is there anyone there who has who would like to speak from the public?
Chair, it does appear that there is a member of the public. So it looks like S. Lang. S. Lang, go ahead and unmute yourself, please. And then you'll be sworn in and you'll be able to speak.
Okay, I'm here.
Please give your name and address, and then you'll be sworn in.
My name is Stephen Lang, and I actually live on Emblem Road, 72 Emblem Road. So I am aware of the location and was in on the very first Zoom meeting. So
Mr. Lang, hold on a second. Let's be sworn in.
Okay.
Mr. Lang, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Sure. So I was in on the very first Zoom meeting, and so I'm aware of what is going on. Emblem Road is basically a horrible road, but it's and a very short road. I think what Nate is trying to do or wants to do is actually really good. I'm a freelance photographer, have worked with almost every restaurant in town over the years. So I'm aware of and have a lot of friends at the farmers market. So I'm aware of the need for good produce. And I think that what he's trying to do is actually a really good thing for this town, and hope that it all works out. That land is basically just barren. It's unfortunately used many times, as Nate was able to give you photos of just people just dumping stuff. So I think his presence will help the road a great deal. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lang. Are there any other members of the public who are present?
Chair and board members, it does not look like there's anybody else in attendance.
Great. Okay, let's close the public portion of the hearing. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Yes, good. Rachel.
Chair Winston, yeah. Question for the applicant, a little off topic, but still curious. I believe Donna Wynant mentioned that you were going to be using a solar powered vehicle to as your business vehicle or for deliveries. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Very cool. What kind of, I'm just out of curiosity, what kind of vehicle is it?
Yeah, it's a, I don't know if I'm going to risk going back in my thing, but there was a little picture of it. It's a, they only made about 400 of them. It's a Ford Transit Connect. And it's how I got most of the delivery when I did a practice run from Santa Fe Community College. It worked pretty well as a delivery vehicle. And yeah, it's fun to just be able to plug it in, and especially during COVID, not have to get gas and wash my hands like every time I touch the gas thing. But no, it's a great little vehicle.
Excellent, thank you. I found it in your report.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Downey. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I was joking before when I was telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But when I said that we'd make a deal, I do not want to make a deal.
I understand. We know you're kidding. But thank you for clarifying it. If you were approved, how long until you plan on commencing construction?
Well, it's my understanding that the public has 30 days to raise further objections after this meeting. So I'm hoping to, assuming that everything goes as I hope it does after this or during this meeting, I will work very hard on the architecture and the planning and getting the utilities in so that I can get a building permit submitted as soon as possible. I've been looking for land on this project for 4 years. And so my wife's going to kill me. No, but also kidding. And so, no, I've just got to keep this thing moving as fast as possible. So I've never done this before though. So I don't really want to predict beyond the fact that I'm going to work hard and get this thing submitted. I know exactly what kind of greenhouse I'm going to be using, and the architecture has not been done because it's not been paid for because I don't have this approval, but I don't know how long that will take. It shouldn't take that long.
Okay, and just for your clarification, the time frame for 30 days for anyone from the public to appeal our decision runs from the time the board approves the findings and facts and conclusions of law. If we do that this evening, then the 30 days would run. But if we didn't do that this evening, then the 30 days would run from the date we approve the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Great. Okay, any other questions for staff or Mr. Downey? Well, then what's the pleasure of the board? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair Winston, with the first of a two-part motion regarding case number 2021-3516, Tract A1 Emblem Road Special Use Permit. I move to approve the special use permit subject to the technical corrections recommended by staff.
Thank you.
Second.
Please, I see that Donna Reynolds is seconding the motion. Any discussion? Okay, thank you. Could we have a roll call vote on the motion?
Vice Chair Winston,
Approve.
Member Reynolds,
Approve.
Member Deering,
Approve.
Member Painter,
Approve.
Member Alexander,
Approved.
Member Maz,
Approved.
and Chair Friedman.
I also approve the motion.
Your motion passes.
Congratulations, Mr. Downey. And
Mr. Chair,
is there another motion, Rachel?
yes, there is another motion from Vice Chair Winston.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Regarding case number 2021-3516, Tract A1 Emblem Road Special Use Permit, I move to approve the findings of fact and the conclusions of law as shown in Exhibit A.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a second from Member Reynolds. Could we have any discussion? Could we have a roll call vote?
Vice Chair Winston,
Approve.
Member Reynolds,
Approve.
Member Deering,
Approve.
Member Painter,
Approved.
Member Moz,
Approved.
Member Alexander,
Approved.
and Chair Friedman.
I approve as well.
Motion passes.
Double congratulations, Mr. Downey.
Thank
That's
you all
great.
very, very much. You're volunteers, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the board, I thank you for that. And I wish you all the best of luck with your endeavors. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Any staff communications?
Thank you, Chair and board members. I know we hadn't met for a while, so thanks for dealing with the technology hiccups. I think the last time we had met was in February. And so
I've missed you guys.
So as such, just kind of an update with where things stand, kind of from the in-person meetings type of stuff. There was a special city council meeting last Tuesday where the council was given a set of options about in-person meetings and returning to City Hall and functions of that nature. So essentially, there hasn't been a final decision yet, but we anticipate that we'll probably be doing some type of hybrid. They categorized all the different boards and committees that meet throughout the city. And category 1 is like the most essential ones, and that was the governing body. And then category 2 was all the subcommittees of the governing body, as well as Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Historic Design Review Board, and the Archaeological Board, and our Capital Impact Advisory Committee. As such, we will be updating you as soon, but I would anticipate something like they've retrofitted the council chambers so that it can still broadcast to YouTube and Zoom when you're in person. And so I'll keep you posted, but I think we'll probably be wind up within the next couple of months going back into a hybrid type of thing where perhaps it's just the committee and the commission in the council chambers where you can finally meet some of our new members in person and not guess how tall they are in real life. Actually get to meet them. And
we can just ask them.
Yeah. And so I think that will be probably what will happen. And we probably are looking at more like a hybrid approach to how staff does presentations. Like they may not be there in person, but the essential staff like myself and City Attorney Paez would be there in person, as well as perhaps even our stenographer, but we haven't even gotten that far. And then if you can't make it in person or you don't feel comfortable, there may be an option to participate via Zoom. So that's kind of where we're looking at going. And as those details are decided and hammered out, I will give you a heads up, or a board a heads up about what we're doing and keep everyone informed. As far as in-person working, right now, City Hall is still closed to the public except by appointment. We anticipate that we will start to have some employees returning, probably in more of a hybrid setting. If they're not essential employees, like they have to conduct their work in person. And then we'll develop protocol for how to have meetings in City Hall, have site visits with people, and the like. So I just kind of wanted to keep the board updated on that.
That's very helpful, Noah. Thank you very much. Just out of curiosity, does each board get a vote on how they would want to proceed, or is it just going to be the way the city council goes forward is the way all the boards are going to go forward?
Thank you for that question. That's actually a really good question. So, but I worked with the city clerk to determine what we thought would be the best approach. And my recommendation was, and also with our land use director, Eli Isaacson, to what would be the best approach for our boards. Overwhelmingly, the land use boards that we spoke to did say they wanted to do in-person meetings. There's
right.
a lot more people are vaccinated, and there's protocol now that's kind of industry standard for having public meetings. But until the Attorney General updates the public health order for meetings, we can still continue to have them in a virtual setting. And I would let City Attorney Paez speak a little bit more to that.
Sure. I was just going to add that, and I think we covered this in the PowerPoint I did a couple months ago. Right now, our legal authority to meet by Zoom requires an ongoing emergency. Our current state of emergency is declared by the city, I think goes through about July, I want to say 6th. So for now, that's in place. We've been updating that every so often, and we've also been sort of tracking the state. So I think if there's still a declared emergency at the state or city level, that is enough grounds for us to say it's difficult or impossible for members to attend in person, and will probably remain, virtual or potentially move to a hybrid format. When that goes away, we may have less flexibility, but our city attorney did touch base with someone over in the Open Government Division of the Attorney General's office. They said they are potentially working on new guidance regarding virtual meetings as things continue to progress in this good direction, and something might be coming out, but for now, they confirmed that we're on solid ground to sort of stay the course or move to a hybrid format with members of the public and some staff presenting remotely, which a lot of other jurisdictions are starting to experiment with. So I know the governing body, certainly some of the members were asking, what are the opinions of all of these committees and boards? We have about 50. And of course, every one of the 7 of you probably has a slightly different opinion than the others. It was the same with governing body, and I think it's the same with all the committees. So it is a little hard to generalize. But in terms of the quasi-judicial, I do anticipate land use boards that are quasi-judicial especially will probably follow governing bodies format. So
Is out of curiosity, is the city government requiring all employees who come back to work to be fully vaccinated?
No, for the foreseeable future, I don't believe that will be a policy that is required by the city for probably many different reasons. But I think we do have some staff members who are not able to get vaccinated because they have health, which doesn't enable them. I think we've kind of, and Sally can correct me, I think the mask mandate at City Hall will be in place for some time when doing business at City Hall.
Yeah, what I was going to say is what we have more recently updated is the mask policy. And so there are still masks required currently for anyone interfacing with members of the public. Masks are required for anyone who is unvaccinated, but that's sort of a self-reporting type policy. Folks who are fully vaccinated, and everybody, and in an area that's not open to the public, so the city attorney's office, we are lucky enough because we have a bunch of confidential information in our office to be behind a door with a keypad. So if we know the 4 of us working in there are fully vaccinated, we can do no masks in there, or anyone, regardless of vaccination status, if you're in a fully enclosed office, can do no mask. So that has been updated. That was certainly a big debate as well in terms of, can we check for vaccination status, how do we deal with this? But because we do interact with the public, certainly in those types of meetings and situations for now, we're definitely requiring still masks. So.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing in my office. Everyone's fully vaccinated, but so wearing a mask is optional to people, right? We're still closed for the general public.
Yeah.
But are members of the board going to be wearing masks or not masks if we go in the city?
Again, I think we'll follow the lead of city council. The councilors were encouraging one another to disclose their vaccination status. And I think as elected officials, they trust each other to be honest in doing so. I think that if all 9 of them report that they are fully vaccinated and are willing to do so, and the other folks in the room, the city manager, I think it would be the city manager, city clerk, and city attorney are fully vaccinated, I think those folks could probably proceed to have a meeting without masks. And that's certainly an advantage in terms of communicating with the public on this type of format. If we have folks trying to watch on YouTube or Zoom and the speakers are masked, it does make it more difficult to communicate. And as you know, it's already challenging as it is. So I know there's at least some interest in doing that, but And there's other suggestions kind of floating around in terms of, should we do more in terms of spacing out the people, and should we install plexiglass, and is there another venue that would be more safe, and can we use our new equipment that allows us to go on YouTube somewhere larger, a bigger space? So there's still kind of a lot of ideas that were floating around last I knew.
Well, I'm not just just so you know, I'm not just asking these questions for myself. I'm asking for the whole board, because I'm fully vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated for quite a while, but there may be other members of the board who haven't been able to because of health issues like you brought up. And I want everyone to feel safe if they have to come back in person. And so, and if the member of this board want to voluntarily disclose whether or not you're fully vaccinated or not, that's fine. But you know, it can't be a policy of us to require that.
That's correct. Yeah, we're not going to require it. You know, we'll work out that detail. I think if governing body tries to go to a format where, because we've all decided we're good with saying it and we want to meet with no masks, and maybe it would be even just an email from the staff liaison or somebody saying, are you willing to let us know? And then we'll determine options based on that, and we'll just communicate back. So, you know, and if you want to decline to provide information, certainly that's an option. If you want to provide information, but you don't want it attached to you, but then we have somebody who can, you know, gather 7 pieces of information and say, all 7 have said that they're willing to do this. I want to do this. You know, I don't know. We'll have to figure out a good
Work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd welcome any board members to you can send me anything. It will be confidential to the point that it's a public record. I mean, once it goes in my email, but it will be. You can send it to me. I won't share it with other board members, but we, how you feel about this or any suggestions moving forward, and I can compile those and report back to our city clerk and report back to this board if you'd like. You all have my email, so please feel free to utilize it on this topic. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. And then one more thing that I did want to also acknowledge. Some of you may have worked with Carlos Gamora. He's a planner who's been with the current planning division for a couple of years. Carlos has moved to Albuquerque and has accepted a position in Albuquerque. So his last day is actually this Friday.
Wow.
So he will be no longer part of the city staff, but we much enjoyed working with Carlos. Carlos is great, and he will be missed. So we'll be hiring probably another 2 people. And also, as such, we're going to start moving on a growth management plan, looking to send that out to RFP. I do believe our director is working on a presentation that he's going to present to the Planning Commission this Thursday, and then to Quality of Life tomorrow. And then I think on his growth management plan on kind of the vision for that. And then also Chapter 14, we're going to do a hygiene cleanup of Chapter 14, go through that. Maybe we'll be looking at things like this, like the urban agriculture ordinance. Why in an industrial area do you have to get a special use permit? It's not that intense of a use, and revisiting some stuff. So that may come out of these planning processes as we move forward.
That's great. And I echo your sentiments about Carlos Gamora. I've worked with him on a number of matters, and I found him to be both very helpful, very positive, and very knowledgeable. So I'll miss him. So thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm happy to follow personally the city council's lead and us meeting in person with having the public via virtual. But I just want all the members of the board to be secure and feel safe.
Yeah, and just one other thing I want to add, you know, if our state of emergency goes away, we still might be able to find a path where there could be an individual circumstance where it's difficult or impossible for one member to attend. We might still need to tweak our ordinance a little bit, but there are, I think, other possibilities. The universe of options is pretty broad, so we'll certainly allow as much flexibility as we can to folks.
Okay, great, Sally. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, any matters from the board? Well, again, it was nice to see everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying the lovely weather we're having and the rain. And do we think there's going to be a meeting in July at this point?
Chair and board members, I am trying to, let me just look really quickly on my app. It actually, surprisingly, these last two application deadlines have been really slow. Like we were running full speed. And then, I don't know, the last 2 months, all of a sudden we had like 1 or 2 applications come in for new development, which it actually based on my pre-apps that I've had or our pre-apps that we've had, there's been a real slowdown. But let me just really quickly look here. It does not look like we are going to have a July meeting at this point in time. We didn't get any applications that would come before the Board of Adjustment for the deadline of July, but I anticipate we're going to be having some. We've had some meetings. There may be some variance requests coming forward. Those are always fun. Some more special use permits. Those are also fun. And then, and maybe even an appeal of a staff decision coming forward as well. But you know, we'll as those come through, you will see them on an agenda.
Thank you, Noah. If I know someone who might be interested in a position with the land use, who do I direct that person to?
If it's within planning and they'd like to do some planning type work, please send them my way.
I will. Okay.
Very much look forward.
I'll talk to them, and if they are interested, I certainly will send them your way. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Great. If there's no matters from the board or staff, this meeting is concluded. Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Take
Noah,
care.
Noah, once
Bye-bye.
we're off the public meeting, I just have a question I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Do you have my cell phone number if you want to call me right after?
Okay.